It's a delight and honor to be with all of you today. I hope you enjoyed the video and that Dr. Elizabeth Cohen did on photonovellas, because I'm going to ask all of you to join me a couple more times after the completion of this course, and so we can discuss a little bit more about photonovellas. And I have a project for you guys I want you to do. But today, I know with great anticipation, it is my honor to introduce to all of you Dr. Michael Eliot Bales. He is our Director of Evaluation at Weill Cornell Clinical and Translational Science Center. He applies a variety of methods, including social work, social network analysis, natural language processing, and data visualization to research impact assessment. He a certified de-identification professional. He developed policies and procedures for Weill Cornell's Data Core, a secure, scalable computing and storage environment that allows researchers to work with data while meeting appropriate regulatory requirements for data protection. So you can ask Dr. Bales all about this. He has contributed to several open source software regulatory requirements for data protection. He has contributed to several software initiatives, including the researcher profiling system, Vivo, and the author name disambiguation system, Reciter. Now, you can ask Dr. Bales what that is as well. He obtained his PhD in biomedical informatics at Columbia University. His MPH is in epidemiology from the University of Minnesota. And he completed a public health informatics fellowship at the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. He teaches the course, Science of Team Science, Practical Approaches to Working Effectively in the Scientific Teams. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce all of you to Dr. Bales, Dr. Michael Eliot Bales. Welcome, Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Lula May. Thank you for the kind introduction and for inviting me back. It's good to be here. So today's session is on Science of Team Science, which is a scientific discipline focused on collaboration in science and how to collaborate more effectively. So I'll start by giving you an overview of team science as I've been teaching it to researchers. And the main focus of the field has really been on how researchers can collaborate more effectively. But the field of Science of Team Science is in transition. The COVID-19 pandemic has made it very clear that there are serious health inequities that need to be addressed. And there's also been a cultural reckoning on racial injustice that has really renewed conversations about serious problems historically, as well as contemporary, in the relationship between science and communities, particularly communities of color. Now, this is going to be an interactive presentation where I'll be inviting all of you to contribute. And I'll leave time for us to have a discussion on some of the biggest challenges in community-based participatory research and opportunities for the future. And I'll also describe some resources where you can learn more about the topic. So this is my third time covering this topic in the context of community research here at the Community Research Academy. And I really see this as an opportunity for peer learning, where we're all learning from each other. When I'm not showing a slide, my screen will be blank. The term Science of Team Science was first introduced in 2006 at a conference hosted by the National Cancer Institute. The conference was the Science of Team Science, Assessing the Value of Transdisciplinary Research. And the field of Science of Team Science, or SCITES, S-C-I-T-S, is informed by several academic fields, including organizational science, community health, and social psychology, as well as by groups from outside of academia, including the business and the military. So what is team science? Team science is scientific collaboration, research conducted by more than one person in an interdependent fashion. So this includes research conducted by teams and larger groups. I'd like to show you a slide now on the percentage of published articles authored by more than one individual over time. These are research articles in science and engineering, the upper line, and social science, the lower line. And you can see from 1959 to 2013, there's been an increase in the percentage of articles authored by more than one individual, indicating an increase in collaborative work, at least in co-authorship of articles. This is another graph on the number of papers written by team size. In each of those lines reflects the number of articles published by teams of various sizes. So from one author all the way down through 6 to 10 authors. And note that the x-axis, the y-axis is on a logarithmic scale. So these increases are actually a lot more dramatic than they would appear if this were on a linear scale. But I'd like to invite your attention to the lowest two lines, which are author team sizes of 101 to 1,000 authors, and then the lowest line, author team sizes of more than 1,000 authors, and these have been increasing the most since 2005 or so. And now I'd like to give you an opportunity to chime in. So do any of you have an idea of what scientific fields these articles might be in, the ones with more than 1,000 authors? So feel free to unmute if you care to hazard a guess, or if you know what some of these fields are.
Perhaps with drug trials.
Yeah,
That might be the most economic one that folks would go after.
right. And some of those projects require collaboration of more than 1,000 people. I suppose there are some in computational biology that leverage huge computing resources that require maintenance by different government agencies. Those might have more than 1,000 authors. Yeah. Anyone else? So these are also articles in astronomy and particle physics. And so there are articles where there are a lot of authors, as I mentioned, that are required to maintain, say, the infrastructure, or there are a lot of different fields that need to come together to accomplish big projects.
Why would they do particle physics? Would they go into mechanical physics or just particle physics? What's the difference? Are they intertwined?
Well, I'm talking about research involving super colliders. So this type of equipment tends to require a lot of people to participate in the installation, maintenance, and upkeep. There are also machines like stellarators, which simulate the conditions in the sun through fusion plasma reactions, and tokamaks, which are also a very high energy equipment. So it's that type of thing.
Very expensive equipment, correct?
Correct. Yeah. All right, I'd like to talk now a bit about levels of cross-disciplinary integration from unidisciplinary to transdisciplinary. So a project that's unidisciplinary in nature has collaborators who are all working within a single discipline. Say a team of all dermatologists who are doing some research on some skin conditions. Then you have multidisciplinary research where you have people from different disciplines working together, and they're each drawing on their own disciplinary knowledge. And again, I'd like to invite you to chime in here. Do any of you have an idea of what distinguishes interdisciplinary from the first two, or transdisciplinary? Now remember, these are increasing levels of disciplinary integration.
Well, I'll take a guess. I believe that more specialized field and different bodies of knowledge come together to collaborate on a certain topic or research that they're conducting?
That's right. And interdisciplinary also means that there's a synthesis of approaches that starts to emerge beyond just people coming from different disciplines to work together. So there's a kind of an integration of methods and knowledge from different disciplines. And how about transdisciplinary?
I'll take a guess. Maybe there's another study being conducted with a similar nature, and then they'll come into the study because they have certain goals or meeting some sub goals of the same study, and they kind of try to blend them together.
Yeah, that's, I think, how the motivation for transdisciplinary research, and that's where it starts. And transdisciplinary research is even further blending of intellectual frameworks, even a unity of intellectual frameworks beyond the disciplinary perspectives. And this one tends to be, for my students, one of the more challenging to understand. So I want to go into more detail about transdisciplinary research. So transdisciplinary research, imagine you might have a team of agricultural economists and hydrologists working together to solve an agricultural problem, or research on effective information systems for biomedical research, which is my field, biomedical informatics. And here's a quote that might also shed light on it. Transdisciplinarity, as distinguished from multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity, requires that researchers invent new science together by exploring research questions at the intersection of their research fields, conducting joint research projects and developing methodologies that can be used to reintegrate knowledge. Another quote, transdisciplinarity promotes, quote, theoretical, conceptual, and methodological reorientation with respect to core concepts of the participating disciplines. So about multidisciplinary research, what challenges may arise when collaborators are from different disciplines? What types of things do you think happen in these cases, either in your experience or what you would imagine to happen if you have people from different disciplines working together?
Are you speaking towards the study itself or the personnel that are involved with the studies?
Both. Anything that might happen in terms of how people are interacting together when they're getting the work done. What types of challenges are there from people being from different disciplines?
Well, as you well know, and as folks' egos get into play when they're doing studies, and you bring people together. Sometimes they want to commandeer the study. In terms of their hypothesis, they challenge each other in their hypothesis. In terms of what they're trying to achieve.
Very good. Yeah, exactly.
So there's conflict there. So someone has to facilitate who takes charge in terms of being the leader of the entire study.
Exactly right. Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. So that comes into play, and then you got the economic part of the study. How the money's being shared. Equally, or who gets more, who gets less. Those factors come into play too.
That's right. Yeah, those are all common challenges.
Yeah.
And they may arise from power dynamics, as you mentioned. Maybe one field thinks that they know the science better than the other. There might be different scientific cultures. They might not really even speak the same language in some cases scientifically. They have different social norms, so it's difficult to integrate multiple disciplines.
Yeah, I mean, I think they for lack of a better word, they get dirty and start challenging where they study at and who they study under, I believe.
Yeah. And those types of conflicts can really derail a scientific effort.
So, no, absolutely.
You can expect some conflict when you have research projects.
Yeah,
Uh,
major conflicts, because then the study stops for a minute. So then there's delays.
Yep. And I think one of the motivations of this field of science of team science is to help address some of this points that might cause conflict early on in the study. And we'll talk more about collaboration plans in a bit.
Yeah, I guess you have to set up norms prior to beginning the study.
Exactly. Yep. That's a
Yeah.
leadership consideration, which is key. But when you have less common ground to support seamless communication, it can be more difficult to maintain the collaboration and trust.
Yeah. So how do you build trust in the study among your so-called peers?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to get to next. Anyone want to comment further on how these challenges in multidisciplinary research can be addressed?
No, it goes back to relationships, I believe. And when you get groups of people in, you have to establish relationship. And it could be as simple as having lunch together and talking about the study, things things like that, I believe.
You're exactly right. Yeah, you're coming back to leadership issues. Because one thing that a team, if you're putting together a team, you might want to look at which people you want to include on the team, people who have the personality trait of openness, which is something I suppose that can be measured in psychological tests, but it might also be something that you can kind of get a sense of. Openness to collaborating with people from other disciplines.
They may be intellectually smart in their field, but lack common sense or lack the interpersonal skills.
Yeah, that can be a problem. That's true.
That'd be a major problem.
Right. And perceptions around those problems can also lead to further problems. If one group thinks the other group is that way and the other group thinks, that kind of thing.
So I believe the key is who facilitates, person that facilitates, who's going to be the catalyst to bring everyone together for the common goal of the study.
That's right.
That's very important.
Yeah, and in the class that I teach on science of team science, the third class, which actually I'm teaching tomorrow, is on leadership. I spend the whole class on leadership and how a good leader can set the tone for the collaboration, find out what the strengths of each of the collaborators are, identify potential sources of conflict, set up a collaboration plan and agreement early on, so that everyone has a better sense of what to expect and what to do if there is conflict throughout the project.
Yeah. Do you venture into group dynamics?
Oh, yeah.
The tools of the group dynamics?
I do, because we cover case studies that
Okay.
show how group dynamics can shift in certain specific imaginary cases, and we talk through those as well.
Yeah. Do you entertain getting to yes by Fisher and Yuri?
No, but I'll make a note of that. I'll look into it. I've heard of it.
Yeah, getting to yes, Fisher and Yuri. They're the ones that wrote they negotiated the arms treaty. I forget the date, but it was the nuclear arms treaty. They were the collaborators and negotiators.
Oh, that sounds really fascinating. I'll definitely have a look at that.
Yeah.
A related, this also comes up so often in science of team science that I have a whole class on tools and technologies to support remote collaboration. Many of us learned quite a bit during the pandemic about challenges that arise when working remotely. So again, here I'd like to invite your comments, and Danielle and Dr. Rivera, feel free to chime in if you'd like as well. But what types of challenges come up when coworkers or collaborators are trying to get work done on projects and don't have the benefit of seeing one another in person much? or at all? Actually, I can start because there's the question of group dynamics. One thing that has appeared in the research, and that does happen, is sometimes you have projects arranged in a hub and spoke model where there's a central headquarters and then the peripheral sites. And in cases like that, it's not uncommon for the peripheral sites to feel like the headquarters group is really dominating the collaboration and they might not have as much of a voice. So that can affect team dynamics. But anyone else care to chime in on some of the challenges in remote collaboration?
I believe when you do a remote collaboration, you lose the human interaction
Yeah,
of each other. And you're not building trust, which is important. It's really abstract. It's not personal when you're collaborating, remotely.
yeah, that's it. That's really the main thing. And there are a few things that contribute to this, because you don't have the benefit of informal communication like chance encounters in the hallways. That phrase is something that I've been teaching for a while, and I've seen it now in the media after COVID, because it's been nationally recognized. In conference calls, although this is getting better, the technology is getting better, you might not be sure of the identity of the other participants or exactly who's speaking. It's more difficult to gauge the mental and emotional states of people, and this can cause trust to weaken and can lead to misunderstandings. But what are some challenges? What are some strategies for addressing these challenges? Suppose you do need to have a collaboration where the people are just not in the same place.
Well, pardon me. I believe phone calls prior to the remote collaboration, small talk to the participants may help. It's very difficult to establish a relationship over the phone. I think we as humans, we need the human touch. We need the body language of folks.
Right.
Yes.
Also, it may depend on the size of the group too, but maybe people from each group can create maybe a short bio. You can quickly learn about the other people who are in the group. Practically, an issue could be even different time zones, and trying to work on deliverables or assignments, but not really knowing when is an appropriate time maybe to even contact someone or to respond, or when someone will respond. So maybe just having an orientation immediately, just to kind of understand who is who.
Exactly. And this is in the literature on science of team science, face-to-face meeting, if possible, is recommended at the start of the project. And then if you can meet every few months or annually, that's good. And John mentioned increased social communication or small talk that supplements the task-oriented communication that goes on. That's actually a good thing. Ensuring that technologies are appropriate and used appropriately. You can look at what the technology readiness, or whether the collaboration are really ready to use the technologies being applied for the project. All right. Now let's move on and discuss.
I believe, Dr. Bates, I believe also the efficiency of time. Sometimes if you say it's 1 o'clock, they don't start until 1:15. So then folks are waiting around, and it's a waste of time collectively.
Yeah, I suppose you have the benefit of a little bit of a small talk at the beginning, but being mindful of people's time is very important. I think that there can be, if it's not the leader of the project, you could have a project manager who's responsible for keeping things on track time-wise.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I want to talk about qualities in people or in partners in scientific research that are valued what qualities or characteristics make people particularly effective in collaborative work? I mentioned openness or being open to collaborating with people from different disciplines. So that's one. Any others you can think of?
Clarity, in terms of what the project is, goals, being able to answer, I'm sure questions will come up, but I think maybe some, I think initial clarity would benefit the entire group, and ongoing communication as, you know, reminders about the goals of the project, and maybe setting up opportunities for, if this again does involve multiple groups, for them to even, like, I don't know, open hours or opportunity for specific groups to meet with maybe the project parent in a way.
Oh yeah.
So things like that.
Yeah, how you set up meetings is important. It really can vary depending on the structure of your collaboration, the structure and the nature of your collaboration. Oh, I see, Ulume, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to add listening skills. People need I think people need good listening skills, because sometimes we like to talk, but sometimes we don't listen well. And I think listening helps.
That's a great point. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. People have to have active listening skills. So what happens, people want to defend before the message is completed. They get on the defense. So appropriate language in the Zoom or collaborating remotely, you have to learn how to listen and focus. You have to have a commitment, a passion. If folks come with a passion and a commitment to the topic, perhaps you get more effective collaboration.
Yeah, and I've seen that it can be more difficult when you have a very large group to keep everyone engaged. If you have a Zoom call with 70 or 80 people, it might be easier for people to kind of zone out and leave the communication to others. That can happen, you know. There's been some research on project size too. For certain types of projects, it's recommended to have something like 8 to 12 people. I see that those numbers come up. So yeah, those are all great. I kind of grouped these into themes. This is from a book, Enhancing the Effectiveness of Team Science, out of the National Academies Press. But these are all personality or traits or characteristics that have been shown to be good competencies for productive participation in team science. So people who are intellectually curious, who value interdisciplinarity, I mentioned that, who are good at interdisciplinary networking, who are just good at their own field, good at knowledgeable about their own field. And then people who are knowledgeable about team science, or teamwork, good at communicating, we mentioned that. People who are good at managing conflict. And then I mentioned open-mindedness as well, and being willing to change and adapt. These are all good qualities for.
Is a good quality also, Dr. Bales, sharing knowledge?
Yeah, I think that can be in this category up here, like good at communicating, sharing knowledge, willing to share. Sure, willing to share data sometimes is important as well. Anything else we want to talk about on this? I can move on to.
How about a question? How about when you challenge the data? Where would that fall in?
Probably challenging the data. Well, there are several aspects to that, I guess. There's a concept, well, that makes me think of a lot of things, but there's a concept of psychological safety, which is where people in a team feel like they can speak up about things without fear of repercussions. And that's a kind of a vibe, if you will, that the leader of a team can cultivate to ensure that people feel psychologically safe when they're working with other people in the team. So that would be important for encouraging people to have this kind of scientific discourse and dialogue that's key in many aspects of how the research proceeds and just gets done, the practical day-to-day. So I guess there are different personality types which might approach, you could be aggressive in questioning what's going on with this data or this method. You could have a tone that's antagonistic. That might be appropriate in some cases, but too much of it could be jarring or wear on people. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about in terms of personality?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good. See, we're learning from each other. This is great.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, if it's all right, we'll move on to talk about community partnered research. So I'll start by just reading one definition of community-based participatory research. It's an approach to research that involves collective, reflective, and systematic inquiry in which researchers and community stakeholders engage as equal partners in all steps of the research process with the goals of educating, improving practice, or bringing about social change. So, what do you see as the biggest challenges for effective collaboration in community-based or community-partnered participatory research? And Lula-May and Jesse, feel free to participate in this conversation as well, because I know that you have also very valuable knowledge that can come into play here.
Yeah, I think the acceptance by the intellectuals to accept the community partners as equal partners
Yes.
and sharing the economics of the study with the community partners. And when I have to underscore equal economic for the community partners.
Yes.
Not just buying them a lunch and thank you and goodbye.
Right, they could be written into the grant. They could be written into the grant as co-investigators in some cases, sure.
And also upset the partners accepting the community folks into the design of the research.
Exactly. That's a well-recognized and important consideration and factor that's been shown to increase the effectiveness of this type of research when the partners are involved in all aspects from the early planning and onward, right?
Yeah. And discussing the prior biases that occur as a form of healing and progressing to a new day.
Acknowledging that there have been serious challenges in the past and things that need to be rectified in science overall in terms of how, as I mentioned earlier, how people in communities of color are treated and a variety of other scientific ethics questions, like the Tuskegee study, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the benefits that the community will obtain from the study.
Yep, that's right. You're getting to it. Yeah.
And the benefits of the drugs that they want to test, the benefits to the participants.
Right. And these things are supposed to be done on, for example, if people in the community participate as research subjects, for example, this is a little bit different from community partner research, but this is done in on the informed consent forms, and some of those are 14 pages or more I've seen, and there's a recognition that those should be more clear in a lot of cases.
And the review of the federal regulations when it comes to trials with the community partners.
Can you
Yeah.
say that again? I'm sorry.
I said informing and teaching the community, educating the community partners with respect to federal guidelines when it comes to consents.
That's important as well. Yeah.
Very important. And in terms of consent, if something goes wrong during the trials, you know, you have to notify the participants
Yes.
when things go wrong.
And in some cases, the Institutional Review Board, and in some cases, federal agencies like the FDA have to be notified, or others. Yeah.
And I believe in the review board, you have to have a community person also, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. You do.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's a part of that too. So, you know, education, informing the community of all the regulations and requirements and responsibilities. So,
That's one of the reasons why I think the Community Research Academy is so important. So what we're doing here today, and as we're garnering new knowledge and new understanding of research and all the little caveats, the ins and outs, and all the things that are coming down the pipe, that all the things that are being developed and being ushered in, I think it is important for the community members to understand the process, not in details, but overall, because when team science or community-based participatory research projects occur, community members know what their biggest health challenges and concerns are. And I think they should bring those to the table and be able to stand on whatever they feel is important and adhere to it and keep it ever before the researchers, keep it before the researchers and be involved in the entire process. So
you're correct, because I believe federal regulations came about because of a study that went bad. And then the federal government came into play and set up the federal regulation. There was a famous case, I believe, I forget the name of it, but perhaps Dr. Bates knows about that one.
You might be referring to the Tuskegee study where men who had syphilis were participating in a study, and they were not told that they had syphilis, or they were not treated for syphilis, which was a major breach of ethics.
Okay. I believe there was another that's one of many.
Oh yeah, I know yeah, I've heard of this one too. I don't teach it though. So Lula May, maybe you know, I think it was about maybe a little girl.
A little girl, I don't remember. Henrietta Lacks, I remember.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. Do you know
Henrietta Lacks?
Yeah, that's one of many. Yeah, you could perhaps you could read medical apartheid, and you know they have a whole host of atrocities that were committed against the African Americans. So, you know, I mean, I think that discussions have to begin so the healing process could begin.
Yeah.
If we just can't bury it in the ground. We need to speak about it. It was wrong. These are the things that went on in these communities. And now we have community partners and start healing, I believe.
And with the community partners, all of the community, when community members step up, because I'm a community person as well, when we step up, we have to have a general consensus or general agreement on what the issues are. Because if we start fighting or discussing 50 different things, we can't do 50. Maybe we could do one. Yeah. Maybe that one can be the initial starting point or the epicenter that spreads out and impacts other areas. But we need one, and we need to be unified on that.
I agree. I'm sorry, Dr. Bates, you continue.
No, don't apologize. This is all great conversation. You got me thinking, so that's why I was quiet for a minute. Lula May was referring to a certain dynamic that's interesting because I suppose we want to see it as a team that's unified on some level, but you also have the dynamics of the community partners themselves and how that voice is presented at meetings. So that's an interesting perspective.
Thank you.
So what are some differences in motivations between community health practitioners or community health workers and researchers at academic institutions? Can we talk about that for a bit?
Hang on.
Well, one is the educational level of the community partners versus the academic folks.
Yeah, that might affect their motivations, right? That's true.
Yeah.
Academic folks may be motivated to publish articles and get funding and do the things that they need to do for their career.
In terms of understanding the issue, the research team may have more of a theoretical understanding of it, while the community members have more of a lived experience. So being able to connect them, because I think a lot of people, or a lot of research institutions may be able to theorize or understand an issue or topic based on what they learn in school, but the community may be able to, well, they are best equipped since they are living it, but are able to offer an additional layer to the discussion as well, related to what may be in a textbook.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. Yeah.
I think a major part of it is education. You have to educate them. You just can't have them participate without learning the jargon, the reasons they're there, the study itself. You know, it's ongoing. Education is ongoing. So, you know, you start developing your community folks to get them to a certain educational level when they get a research comes, they understand it, the design, implementation, facilitation of the study, where they become sophisticated. They may not compete on an intellectual level with the doctors, but they could question the process and the procedures and the policies and so on.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think is so essential, and I think COVID was an excellent example. We can have the greatest results on a research project, or we can do the most complicated, the most needed, develop the most needed treatment or intervention for a condition. And if the community does not accept it, everything has been wasted. So it's like with COVID, when they were doing the vaccinations, the community didn't want to be vaccinated. A lot of people felt that it was extremely harmful for various reasons. And a lot of them, some of them got things confused, or maybe they weren't aware. I'll say awareness, a lack of awareness. So I think it's important that the community be involved, or else the best treatments, the best laid plans of both mice and men are going for nothing.
Right. I remember reading about, I think, some kind of nutrition intervention where tons of food were shipped somewhere and it didn't even match with the types of food that people eat in that part of the world. It's like you'd at least have a pilot project of some kind. So some of these things just fail because of, yeah. So I was asking about the differences in motivations between people like community health practitioners and researchers working at academic institutions. And I'd like to bring up a slide with a quote on that. And I'll just read this. This is from an article, an excellent article by Dan Stokols and co-authors, The Ecology of Team Science, which is an article that really got me into the field many years back. But so the quote is, whereas practitioners' goals are more pragmatic, community-oriented, and favorably disposed to quick decisions and the implementation of problem-solving strategies, researchers generally have a longer-term orientation, are more concerned with basic research questions, and we mentioned theory, and aspire to publication and the receipt of grant funds, which I mentioned as well. So what does this quote resonate with any of you? I mean, I think yeah. Let me ask, in the current environment, do you think research is changing in this regard? Is research becoming more aligned with the goals of practitioners? Or we could say more aligned with goals of the community? Do you think that things are moving in that direction?
Well, I could say we taking these series of workshops, you know, I think that is changing, which these workshops are excellent. It's given us a new perspective on the trials. So it's empowering the community folks. So I commend you guys for doing this.
Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. If we can do our one small part in moving moving it forward, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I've been doing research on my own, you know, just based on the workshops that I completed so far. You know, I read on Harriet
Washington.
Washington. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Been reading several of her books, and you know, and diving into genetics and so on, and trying to learn different terminologies so to get prepared when they come to our community, to have a base knowledge.
One of the things that it seems to me, because this is one of my challenges, and it's one of the challenges I have with my job, what I'm doing. And one of my challenges is to get community organizations to write for grants and to partner with academicians. And from time to time, academicians will consult the community core here at the CTSC, and we will go in search of community people that will work with the academicians. However, I would like to see community people approach me or approach the CTSC and seek out opportunities to partner or work with people, with academicians. So, like, that's my big challenge, because I think it's necessary. I think when you have your practitioners, your academicians, they've garnered a lot of insight and wisdom, and they have a lot of passion about whatever it is they are doing research on, or whatever their academic endeavor happens to be, whatever area, they are passionate about it and full force ahead. However, for our community members, I'd like to find a way to sustain their interests, to keep them involved. It's like, I live in Bushwick, and I can remember only one woman who was she was in politics in one way or another in Bushwick. And I've been living in the same community for over 40 years. And she was involved, and always up until she passed, she was always involved. And I would love to see that for community organizations, always involved in some form of research, always have realize what the community needs and don't mind sharing or looking for an academician or a researcher, a practitioner who's willing to work with them to find answers for research. I think that's important. Or a community person always available to get involved in research in one way or another. I think that's important. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to solve a lot of health issues. The only way, because the community lives it out.
I agree with your remarks, because I'm the board treasurer for FQAC. Controlling that money is very important, and accountability, having folks accountable and outcomes, and you know, it's not it's a substantial amount of money that comes into the FQACs, into our communities, and I don't see a lot of folks wanting to volunteer in FQACs as becoming a board member. And sometimes when you do have the board members, they don't empower the board members to take charge. So it becomes like a cocktail party or a tea party where folks are not really taking advantage of the learning and the responsibilities and quality assurance and so on. So that's important.
These are all great comments and very thought-provoking.
Yeah, because there's a tremendous amount of money, as you well know, in terms of research and medical. Tremendous amount of money.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I wanted to let you know also from this perspective of team science, there has been some research on circumstances that tend to lead to more successful outcomes in community-based participatory research. And I'll just go through some of those. Now, it's helpful in community-based research to have a strong established community partner organization at the start of the project. That alludes to a few of the things we've been talking about, I suppose. It's good to have a high level of mutual respect and trust among the partners, and an appreciation of the complementary skills and resources that each partner brings to the table, the researchers and the community partners. So here again, you want to convene at the start of the project, kind of make sure that everyone's on the same page, or try to. And another thing that's helpful is understanding key factors that may affect the collaboration, like what other communities have done and who holds the decision-making authority. And you want to ensure that community partners are included in decisions related to research design, budget allocation, as we discussed, and I think you brought that up, John, and choice of publishing venues, and just try to be clear on, and this was also mentioned, I believe, by Danielle, to be clear on what the expected benefits are to the community from the research. And another thing that's helpful is having a commitment to building strong collaborations and alliances with diverse stakeholders beyond the formal partnership. And now some barriers or things that can serve as challenges. There can be differences in the research timetable of the community and academic partners, where community partners may be more eager for quicker data analysis so that findings can be applied to promote meaningful change. There can be funding constraints, termination of funding, or changes in source of project support, and these can all delay or alter the emphasis of the research and the actions resulting from the research. And then there can be perceptions among the partnership members that they lack sufficient understanding of policymaking processes and avenues for system change. And John, I think you alluded to the importance of orienting and then educating people throughout the course of the project. I think that's great. Now, I mentioned this earlier, based on team science research, coming up with some sort of document that establishes the intent of the collaboration is generally recommended. And I believe that all of you should have received a PDF file among 4 PDF files. One of them is on how to how to develop a collaboration plan. I think it's an excellent document and it has a lot of great points. I encourage you to read it if it's of interest. Have any of you been on a project where a collaborative agreement was prepared at the start?
No.
Yeah. How have you been on a project where one might have been helpful? So over the past 7 years, I think out of my 70 or so students, probably 5 or 6 of them have said, yes, I've been on a project where a collaboration plan was prepared. And they generally said they found it very useful. So yeah, if you'd like detail on how to create a collaboration plan, I'd encourage you to read that. I won't go into detail here, but I do want to end now with some resources that you might want to look at further as well. If you'd like to study this topic further, the Science of Team Science online modules at teamscience.net. These are available for free. I actually ask my students to complete 3 hours of this throughout the course of the class that I teach. There are a lot of case studies to work through and videos, and you can really learn a lot about team science online. And I want to give credit to Holly Falk-Krasinski, who was formerly at Northwestern and now works at Elsevier, who was instrumental in putting these together. This is what the homepage looks like. And another good resource is this Team Science Toolbox from Penn State, which describes a variety of practical interventions to support effective teamwork. This is a great book, Enhancing the Effectiveness of Team Science. This is out of the National Research Council of the National Academies. And this is it's an excellent resource on team-based science, and it talks a lot about how universities and research institutions can support teams. Well, I think we've had a great discussion. And Lulu, may I leave it up to you if you want to continue the discussion at this point? We have some more time.
If they have questions, we have time.
Yeah.
Feel free. It's been a very lively, it's been a very informative discussion.
I think so too.
It really has. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, how do I harness it? How do I keep it? How do I hold it?
Yeah. We talked about maybe an email list.
Yeah, maybe that'll work. Maybe.
Email list and meeting every 2 weeks.
Oh, that's an idea.
Yeah, I'm having this event that we are going to just talk about how research in the community, and it's casual, and we meet at this lounge and there's nowhere to sit, so everyone has to stand up and talk.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. I really do. Yeah.
No, I modeled that off of something that happened to me that was pretty neat. After I moved to New York, I put a poster on Craigslist that I was looking to start a fiddle jam session. Well, that never happened, but someone reached out to me and said, oh, we have this NYC collaboration event. We're going to meet every 2 weeks. And he was there every 2 weeks, and the more and more people came, and it just turned into this.
Oh, nice.
All kinds of collaborations came from that.
Well, you never know. Nothing beats a try, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I had a question about the collaborative agreement. Is that more like an informal practice? Like if I were to compare it to like a MOU, memorandum of understanding, would that be like I usually hear of that being used as an agreement between different parties working towards a goal, but is the collaborative agreement like something different than that? Or
yeah, it's framed a bit differently, although a memorandum of understanding can have a lot of the types of topics that I think that team science perspective focuses a little bit less on the practical and legal aspects of an agreement, such as data sharing agreements and who's going to do the IRB and all of those things. But it's more about how are we going to manage conflict? Let's agree on this early on at the start of the project. And it's about how are we going to decide where to publish? And remember, we're going to talk about how to publish and we're going to come to these decisions together. Some things about the structure of the project and the expectations of the team members. It's more of those sorts of things, really.
Thank you.
Let me call you back. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Oh, okay. Sorry, I got a phone call.
Oh, I thought, yeah, I could kind of hear it in the background.
Oh, sorry. That was my baby sister. I was getting her off the phone. So my apologies to everyone.
No,
I have found this information so important, and I love that. I just can't get over the casual meeting. But then I'm just trying to think where. I think would have to be in the community because there's so many. And I have a question. Do you think when we think about community, and because the community is so large and so diverse, would it make sense to have groups that are interested in babies and groups that are interested in certain pathologies, let's say leukemia, just meeting or just meet community, not to try to dissect the community meetings or the groups, just let people meet and they will sort of automatically be attracted to certain things and certain ones, and the groups will come together.
yeah, I think so. It's a question of, I mean, if that's coming from the Weill Cornell CTSC, that's a bigger discussion. I think that there are online groups that meet around those topics, and those can be joined by anyone all over the world. And then you have meetups, meetup.com, and the other community-based groups that have regular meetings in various places. So that is happening, right? But
I never heard of meetup.coms, but okay. Wow.
yeah, check it out. Meetup.com is pretty neat. I've met some friends through going to the meetup events.
Oh, okay.
I have a friend that I met through French meetup that I'm still close friends with today.
Speak French?
Oui, bien sûr.
Well, my French went south years ago. Well, thank you so much. Anyone else have a question? Well, I thank all of you. I thank you so very much. This was a great session, so very informative, and it has given me much to think about. Thank you so much
for inviting me, Lume, and great meeting all of you, and I wish you all the best.
And if you hear of any academician that's looking for community people, don't forget us.
And feel free to be in touch with me or Lume if you have any more questions about science of team science, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rivera, for your comment. I saw that too. All right. Take care, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.